So I just want to say a few words about the orientation week, because even though it is 1 week out of your entire Barnard career, it can be an important one. It can be one that kind of sets the tone for your semester, and it's so much going on during that week that it is exciting, it is fun, it can also be a little overwhelming, a little exhausting. And so I think just to give you a little bit of information about it so that you know a little what to expect and how to maybe approach it might be helpful, even though it's some months away. Our orientation is student-run and student-programmed. We have a group of students on campus all summer made up of Barnard students, Columbia College students, engineering students, general studies students, all the undergraduate schools working together to plan orientation. And it is about 7 days of just tremendous activity. And if you visit the website here where you can see a little bit about orientation, and when it pops up, I'll show you that if you were to scroll down the page, there's not only a blurb about orientation, but at the very bottom of the page, they have posted the schedule books from last year. If you want to visit those and look at them, you will see what the schedule was like last year, and it's actually much thicker than the guide I sent you all about academics, because it is hour by hour by hour, everything that goes on for every day of orientation. And so you'll see that there is something scheduled pretty much every hour of the day and then well into the evening. Some of this will be required so that you really know what expectations are of you or how things run or how things work. Some of it will be optional. I've noted here some of the different components. So there will be academic sessions. You're going to meet your new advisor, first in a group of other first-year students who share that advisor, but then one-on-one. And you're going to get to talk about your preliminary schedule, talk about your plans, and talk about what you're going to do in the first weeks of classes. You're going to take placement exams, perhaps, especially if you're going to take foreign language classes. Those will be held during orientation week. There will be panels of professors from all different departments on campus who will gather to answer questions, just any kind of candid questions that students have about what to expect of a college class. And they'll offer some information about how the first day of class will work, what the pace of the reading might be like, how you might want to study for certain classes, how to stay in touch with professors and use office hours, things like that. So these can be both interesting, informative, and also reassuring during that first week of orientation. So those I would highly recommend that you attend. Most of them will in fact be required. There'll be what I would call administrative sessions that may be important depending on what your plans are for the year. For example, if you're thinking about having a work-study job, there will be an orientation session that you must attend in order to be then oriented and in the system of our career services in order to apply for work-study jobs. And they'll explain to you what kind of paperwork you need to fill out, how you go about finding what jobs are available, how you go about applying for them. Another administration session might be if you're receiving financial aid. They'll have an orientation session where you just want to know how their office works and what you might need from them during the course of the year. So those kind of sessions will come up from time to time throughout the week. There'll be more informational sessions about campus. Different people from different offices will be introducing themselves to you so that you know who they are, where they are, why you may need that office's services during the year. So it's everybody from student life, who oversees the clubs and activities that you may want to be a part of, career services, who will help you perhaps find, as I say, a work-study job or an internship at some point, all of our different health services who will be there to help support you during the year if you need them. So all of these people will be in different places at different times to give you information about them. I will be putting some things on the blog to help introduce you to these offices as well, so that you can perhaps start to become familiar with what they're all about, so that when you then are introduced to the people who run them and hear a little bit more about them during orientation, it won't be necessarily the first time and it will help reinforce it. But meeting all of these people can be really great during orientation. And then there are the social events that are really just there to help you meet people, to help you meet all of these new classmates who are going to be around you for the next 4 or so years. And some of these will be very small groups to help you meet the people who are on your hallway, who you'll probably be seeing more than just about anyone else, to meet the constellation of the group of hallways that make up that part of the quad. Some will be about all new Barnard students. Some will be all of the undergraduate students at all of the 4 undergraduate colleges. And there's always one big New York City event where all of the colleges have pooled their resources and rented out someplace fabulous in Manhattan or beyond Manhattan that is just for the students to have some great big party. And one year it was the Intrepid, one year it was the Metropolitan Museum, one year it was Roosevelt Island, the whole island. I don't know how you did did that or how they filled it. And so it's really exciting. But as I say, the pace of all of this can be a little bit intense. And so I'd like to ask members to share with you, her memories of her orientation, but also what advice she would have for you about approaching it when it comes.
Yeah, memories is a bit of a loose term because orientation is a bit of a blur. It's a bit of a frenzy. But that's a good thing. It's a good kind of frenzy because really orientation is just that. It's an orientation to Barnard. It's an orientation to Manhattan, to Columbia, to just this new phase of your life. And so it's going to be frenzied, but a good kind of frenzy. I think one of the biggest questions that, at least my roommates and I had when we were looking through that guide, and Dinalaba's not exaggerating, it is very big. And we were going through and we were looking at the 7 a.m. Pilates classes, and my roommate looks at it and she's like, I am not doing that. That better not be required. She likes to sleep until 1. So some of them, yeah, especially the social events, are not required, but my personal advice would be just to dive in and to take as much out of orientation as possible, as you can, because you know that once the semester starts, that's not exactly going to be possible for you to take a leisurely stroll through Morningside Heights. And so you have that opportunity during orientation and to meet new people and to ask questions. I think that was also a big thing. You have so many people on call who know that they're just there to answer your questions as incoming first years. So whether it's your orientation leaders who are upperclassmen, I'll be one of them, so you can come up to me and ask me any questions, or administrators who are there, and you'll be there before any of the upperclassmen come and move in. So they're just there for you, as a resource for you, to answer any problems, any concerns that you have in terms of classes, or even in terms of life at Barnard in general. I know that personally, I don't even think Dean Holloway knows the story, so I'm kind of putting her on the spot here, but when I first got to campus, my advisor met with us, but she had an emergency, and a personal emergency, so she had to leave. And of course, that was the time when I got an email from one of the professors whose class I was taking, telling me that the time had changed. And of course, that time overlapped with another class I was taking, and my entire life was thrown for a loop. There were intermittent crying jags, I didn't know what was going on anymore, my life was falling apart, and it hadn't even been a week since I had stepped foot on campus. And I had to go to one of the required sessions, and Dean Holloway was leading the session. And in a flash of inspiration, Dean Holloway, she has nothing better to do than to address my concerns at this time. So I come up to her and I ask her, Dean Holloway, please help me. I have no idea what's going on. I don't even think I was speaking English at that point.
I speak in tongues when necessary.
Exactly. But she stopped me, she's like, it's okay. She does not know who I am at this point. She said, just email me and I will get back to you. I emailed her the courses that I was thinking of taking to fill that extra gap. And within hours, she sends me back an email. Mind you, orientation is one of the biggest times for her as the first year class dean. And she sends me pages on pages of classes. Well, this would be interesting for you because you're a prospective this major, and this might be interesting for you, but it might not be at your level right now. And that was my first introduction to Barnard, setting foot on campus, just having my questions answered when I wasn't in the midst of homework and finals. And so it was a good time for chaos to erupt in my life. So these things do come up, and it's good that you're on campus at a point where you don't have these other concerns. So it's just to keep in mind when you're moving forward, to really be involved in orientation.
I did not remember that.
Yeah.
I feel like I should either slip you a $20 bill or make you my PR agent. But I'm glad I was able to answer your question then. That makes me happy. So it will be a time to ask questions. It will be a time when things will be confusing and chaotic, as they probably will be for several weeks after that. And so again, we will be on hand. But at the same time, while we hope that you are going to be at all of these sessions and coming up to us and asking questions, pay attention to your own internal clock, if you will, or just your own internal needs. If you're starting to feel overwhelmed, if you're starting to feel like if I have to have an awkward conversation with one more person, I don't know, I'm going to explode, do remember that you are able to go back to your room, have a couple quiet hours, have a cup of tea with your new roommate, and just kind of get to know one another and relax. So you need to listen to yourself a little bit to make sure that it doesn't become so overwhelming. But as Mevis was saying, it is the time when you can be social and meet as many people as possible without having the specter of homework hanging over your head and the kind of busy schedule that's going to very quickly catch up with you. And so it can be a really great time to throw yourself into things. And one student said to me, what I had to realize about halfway through orientation was that I just needed to be comfortable with really awkward conversations and thrusting my hand out and saying, hi, my name is, and hoping that it got better from there. And it did. Then she would find that if, after a couple awkward sentences, the conversation would kind of start to ensue. And so it's great if you can try to throw yourself into that experience, even if it's not something that comes naturally to you. But you will still have lots of opportunities, even after orientation week, to have get-togethers. There will be things on the hallways programmed by the RAs. There will be things for the constellations to take you out into the city or to do things so that you will have the opportunity to continue to meet people and to continue to make acquaintances and to make friendships, even after orientation week, but orientation week can be a lot of fun.